There's a moment that happens so quickly you almost miss it. Someone new steps into the room, and before a word is spoken, before a hand is extended, your dog has already started forming an opinion. Not a loud one, not a dramatic one, but something quiet and immediate, something that begins to shape everything that follows. And the strange part is, you probably won't even notice anything. Because from your perspective, it looks like nothing. A glance, a pause. But for your dog, that moment is full of data, and it was shifted into information as well. In this video, you will see how dogs evaluate a stranger in just a few seconds, not by thinking the way we do, but by reading patterns, energy, and subtle signals that most people don't even realize they're giving off. And once you understand what's actually happening in that brief window, the way you see your dog's reactions will start to change. They don't ask who, they ask what it feels like. When a dog encounters someone new, they are not trying to figure out who that person is in the way humans do. They are not asking questions like where this person came from or what their intentions might be. Instead, they are scanning for something much simpler and much more immediate. They are asking, without words, what does this feel like? That feeling is not based on logic. It's not based on a single detail. It's built from a combination of small signals that come together almost instantly. The way the person moves, the pace of their steps, the direction of their gaze, the tension or softness in their body. All of these things arrive at once, and your dog processes them together rather than one by one. Why similar actions create different reactions. This is why two people can behave in almost the same way and still receive completely different reactions from the same dog. Because what matters is not just what is done, but how it is done. A hand reaching out slowly can feel calm and predictable, or it can feel hesitant and uncertain. A voice can sound friendly in words, but carry tension underneath. Dogs are incredibly sensitive to these subtle differences, not because they are analyzing them consciously, but because they have evolved to notice patterns that signal safety or uncertainty. And this process begins almost immediately. The instant comparison to the past. Within the first few seconds, your dog starts comparing what they are sensing in the present moment with what they have experienced in the past. Not in a detailed, story-like way, but in fragments of feeling. A certain type of movement might remind them of someone who was calm and safe. Another type of energy might echo something unpredictable or overwhelming. These comparisons don't happen slowly. They happen all at once, like layers overlapping. And from that overlap, an initial impression forms. A starting point, not a final judgment. It's important to understand that this impression is not a fixed judgment. Your dog is not deciding that a person is good or bad in a permanent sense. What they are doing is setting a starting point, a baseline that influences how open or cautious they will be moving forward. If that initial feeling leans toward calm and familiarity, your dog may remain relaxed, curious, even quietly interested. If it leans toward uncertainty, you might see hesitation. A pause before approaching, a slight lean backward, a moment of stillness where they observe more closely. When reactions become visible. Sometimes, if the signals feel too intense or inconsistent, the reaction becomes more visible. Barking, stepping away, or placing themselves between you and the stranger. From the outside, these reactions can seem sudden or even unpredictable. But from the dog's perspective, they are a direct response to what they are perceiving in that moment. They respond to emotional tone, not just actions. One of the most important things to realize is that dogs are not just reacting to actions. They are reacting to the emotional tone behind those actions. A person who is overly eager, leaning forward quickly, speaking in a high and excited voice, may intend to be friendly. But to a dog, that intensity can feel overwhelming. It creates a kind of pressure that doesn't match the calm, steady patterns dogs tend to trust. On the other hand, someone who moves more slowly, keeps a relaxed posture, and allows space without forcing interaction often feels easier to read. There is less noise in their signals, and that clarity makes it easier for the dog to process what's happening. Clarity feels safer than intention. This is where the idea of evaluation becomes more interesting because it's not about judgment in a human sense. It's about clarity. Dogs respond well to what they can predict. When a person's movements, energy, and presence are consistent, the dog doesn't have to work as hard to interpret them. And when that interpretation feels stable, the dog can begin to relax. But when signals are mixed, when movement and energy don't quite align, it creates a kind of uncertainty. And uncertainty, for a dog, often leads to caution. Timing shapes the first impression. Another layer of this process is timing. Dogs pay attention not just to what happens, but when it happens. A movement that comes too quickly, before the dog has had a chance to observe, can feel intrusive. A hand reaching out immediately can interrupt the dog's natural process of assessment. This is why some dogs seem to prefer observing from a distance before deciding whether to approach. They are not being unfriendly. They are simply taking the time they need to complete their evaluation. They are always noticing more than you think. And during that time, they are noticing everything, not in a rushed or scattered way, but in a steady, continuous stream of observation that doesn't require effort. It's almost as if their attention settles into the moment more fully than ours ever does, because they are not distracted by interpretation. They are simply receiving what is there. The rhythm of footsteps as the person enters begins to form an early impression, not just because of the sound itself, but because of its consistency. A steady, even pace carries a very different feeling than footsteps that hesitate, speed up, or shift unpredictably. To a dog, that rhythm is not just movement. It's intention expressed through motion. The direction of the body adds another layer. A person who moves in a straight, direct line toward the dog creates a very different presence than someone who enters the space more loosely, allowing their body to remain open and slightly angled. Directness can feel clear, but it can also feel intense. Openness, on the other hand, often feels easier to process, less demanding. This is why understanding those first few seconds can be so valuable. Not because it gives you control over your dog's reactions, but because it helps you see what they are actually responding to. It shifts your focus away from trying to correct the reaction and toward understanding the cause. When you begin to see the interaction from your dog's perspective, it becomes less about right or wrong behavior and more about communication. Your dog is not randomly deciding how to react to someone. They are responding to a complex set of signals that come together in a very short amount of time. And once you start to notice those signals, you may find that what once felt unpredictable starts to make a quiet kind of sense. Because in the end, your dog is not trying to judge people in the way humans do. They are simply trying to understand what they are feeling and whether that feeling is something they can trust.